Hey everybody, it is Touch Taste Thursday. This is episode 3, season 6. I am Rebecca with a K, and my guest tonight is Mr. AJ Tavares of That 90s R&B Vibes. Okay, so make sure you are sharing, you're liking, and you are going to be commenting on this whole situation, this whole episode, everything that we got going on. Make sure you let everybody know that we are live with Touch Taste Thursday. I'm excited that you guys are here. Thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you've had a great week. It is Thursday. Finally, I am over this week. This week has been weeking. If that's a thing. This week has been weeking. And so we are here. Only a couple hours until the weekend. Maybe some of you guys have already started your weekend. Either way it goes, I'm just glad that we're here. Our featured products for tonight are by Unforced Rhythms. I have the Super Rich Scrub. I have You Are Enough Natural Body Cream, as well as the You Are Enough Scrubs. Very, very, very great on the skin. The scent is good. The smell is good. The scent is the smell. The feel is good. It cleanses very well. So shout out to Unforced Rhythms for their scrubs and the body cream. And make sure you guys go to her Facebook page, her website, as well as I believe she has an Instagram, and you guys can purchase as well. Let her know Rebecca with a K sent you. All right, so I see you guys are coming on in. So I am going to go ahead and send a request to my guest, Mr. AJ. He's going to come in. We're going to start talking about his book, That 90s R&B Vibe. It's a collection of stories and things that we didn't know about our favorite R&B songs and artists. And so I'm excited about that. And he has a playlist. I love Spotify. The Apple Music and all this stuff is not really my thing, but I definitely have it saved on my Spotify playlist, and I've been kind of sharing it with everybody, with you guys, so that y'all can get it and listen. It's 3 hours, maybe 3 hours and some change of just nonstop R&B vibe, like real time. So I'm going to send him a request, and we are going to get this started. So, all right, here we go. You guys, make sure you are commenting, you're liking, and you are sharing. Tomorrow on my YouTube channel, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on my YouTube channel, which is Gmail Collection. So if you want the full episode, you can catch it then. And you can always go back to the Facebook Live after we have completed the actual live, and it will be the full episode uploaded there. All right. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining me tonight for Touch Taste Thursday. I'm Rebecca. I'm so glad to meet you.
Well, it's nice to meet you too. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Right. Awesome. So let me start by saying, look, I am very honored to be your guest, season 6. I'm very honored to be here. I know you had some heavy hitters, right? You had singers, politicians, entrepreneurs, pastors, hip hop mayor. You had like a bunch of people. Now you got little old me, you know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely honored to be here spending time with you. But I do have, right, we're on live right now, right?
Yes.
And I'm looking at you right now, and I follow you and everything, and I see you, and you're all in the videos, you're all on the radio. Right?
Come on, Lil' Kim.
But one thing I want to ask you, so your skin looks flawless. You look Sasha Fierce every time. So, like, what's up with that? Can you share your secrets? I mean, is that a part of, like, what's going on?
Yes, my secret is I use Pond's, just regular Pond's cold cream. That's the secret.
There ain't no secret. You trying to keep it to yourself.
No,
You
I'm
don't
serious.
Want us
That's
good
the secret. That's some water, and I mind my business and leave other people alone.
All right. Well, hey, okay. I appreciate that, because I saw the website. I saw lip gloss. I didn't see no skin stuff. I was like, well, maybe let me just ask her and see. You know what I'm saying? So I'll take it. I'll pick up some Pond's next time I go.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
on another note, a couple of things I just wanted to share with you before we get started here. This is your show, right? It's your show. So stop me anytime. But so I want to commend you and the Jamal Bates Morning Show.
Thank you.
Because this latest main shooting, it highlights, right, gun violence. Mm-hmm. And you guys were all over that on social media. You guys were all over that on the radio show. Even after some major outlets, right? Yeah. You can see my quote marks, but major outlets decided to move on to other things. So going to give you all your flowers on that. So thank
Thank
you for that.
you.
I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you. We try our best to keep the news of our Black and brown people in the forefront of Black media, because sometimes, like you said, the others, they move on to the next thing. And we want to make sure that our people are well informed, educated, empowered, inspired, just have all of the tools that they need so that they can make decisions and be safe. So thank you.
Exactly. And can I hit a couple more things?
Okay, yeah,
Just two very small things. I'm gonna turn it over to you. I promise it's your show. You can hear me
okay.
say that a bunch. Okay, I respect that. But there are two things I want to hit for sure. The first is going to be, so for those of you that have not worked with Rebecca before, she is very professional. So this is a professional environment. And so she sent out, she knows I'm technically challenged, right? And so I'm surprised I got this working. I'm not touching anything to make sure that everything goes right, right? And so the thing was, she sent the requirement. One of the requirements was to make sure that, there's not a lot of background noise, right? And so it just worked out this way. So I'm not at my house. I don't have the kids. I don't have the dog running around. Okay. I'm at my mom's house tonight, right? I'm having a little wine. I don't know if you can see that. Sangiovese Rosé, and watching the Golden Bachelor. That's the Thursday night for me, right? So I'm at mom's house, saying that to say, okay, I don't run anything over here, right? So if mama decides she want ice water, guess what? I gotta go get some ice water. You know what I'm saying? If she decides she want to sit back here and watch the regular Bachelor, that's it. I don't run nothing over here, and I'm not catching no whippings for nobody.
Okay.
Tonight, all right. So
okay, then.
if we can roll with it, we can roll with it. That'll work for me. And the last thing is, so again, all in the videos, right? All on the radio. That's where I see you everywhere. You do a lot of restaurants and stuff. So me and my wife, who are coming to Baton Rouge in a couple of weeks. I got you on live. Don't embarrass me on this live.
I got you.
Well, you agree to take us out when we get there.
Absolutely.
Okay. So got it locked in because I say this because, and I wanted it on live because I understand, at least yesterday on your radio show, you talked about your blocking ministry and how robust your blocking ministry is, how you're leading the league in blocks, like you battling LeBron, like you leading the league in blocks. And so a lot of folks listening probably don't understand that. So could you explain what that is, number one, and then give me some rules so I don't get blocked in the meantime?
Yeah, so the blocking ministry is about protecting your peace. And so if you can block people from having access to you, and sometimes we don't realize that access outside of social media means being able to call whenever, being able to text whenever. That's the type of access that you get cut off from once I feel like this is not working for me. That's how I protect my peace. That's how I keep everybody from, I don't know, because my level of petty goes like to places that it's really, really hard for me to pull it back. So I tried to just be like, you know what? I'm just going to block you and then we'll be all right. So that's what the block ministry is. And then for you not to get blocked, I don't really know how to suggest it. I guess just make sure the missus is like not, in a space where she's like, okay, you've done enough. Thank you.
Okay, I'm with it on that.
Yes.
I'm with it. So we're going to try not to get blocked. We're going to have, R&B story time, get to this whole thing. So now that's all I had. That's my only prerequisites I have for this whole thing. I'll turn it over. It's your show. I turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yes, for those that are just joining us, this is season 6, episode 3 of Touch Taste Thursday. And tonight, my guest is Mr. AJ, and we are talking about his curated book, playlist called That 90s R&B Vibe, and it is a collection. Like, listen, it's not just a couple little pages like a pamphlet. Like, it's a book of stories and different tales about our favorite R&B artists and our favorite R&B groups, and just some of the best music of our lives. I mean, I know my parents are watching, so they're going to say, oh, the 60s and 70s, but hey, we're talking about the 90s. This is our time. So that's what we're talking about. So we're going to go ahead and jump right on into it. So tell me a little bit about you so that we can kind of get a background and understand how did you come to curating a playlist and a book of 90s classics.
Well, I respect the 70s as well, though. Like, the 70s music was, that's pretty legit. That's pretty legit. But no, I essentially just traveling around. Like, left home at 17, went and, because I wanted to be grown and do grown folk stuff.
Okay.
And, mom's was like, well, okay, here you go. Go ahead, be grown. And so in doing that, just traveling around and stuff. And I just always loved music, from a musical family, right? And that was the big thing, with just music and everywhere. And so just absorbing it. I got into country for a while, grunge rock, all that stuff. But R&B, that was my passion. Again, I was raised on the 70s R&B. My dad was a big fan of Tina Marie and going into that stuff. And so that just sort of made me, and it provided really the soundtrack for my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially during that 90s, that's my coming of age. So that's like falling in love, first kiss, you know what I'm saying? First apartment, all this other stuff. And there's like a soundtrack to that. And so I just wanted to share that with everybody.
That is super dope. I like how you sum that up, because that is pretty much, music is the backdrop of our life. Yeah. It brings you to every memory, it triggers a lot of different thoughts and emotions when you hear certain songs. So I definitely can relate when you talk about, your parents and their influence in music and how you started to shape your own thoughts on what you enjoy musically. So what would be your favorite song, like, of all time? If you only listen to that one song over and over every day, what would that song be?
Honestly, I like, okay, favorite song, I would have to go Johnny Gill, My. And so it's my East Coast bias, right? I'm from DC, Johnny's from DC. But in that song, which was a number one hit, in that song, like, he's on the vocals, Babyface wrote it, right? And he has Kenny G playing the saxophone on it. He has After Seven doing backing vocals on it. Like, to me, that is a perfect song. Like, there is nothing wrong about that song. He even hits the high notes and everything on it. I'm like, from range, like, I think that I can listen to that song all the time, but I got to listen to it all the way up. Another one, I know you said one, but I got to give you another one. So Weak by SWV.
Okay.
Like, I love that song, Weak by SWV. Yeah. Like, that was an awesome song. And that was actually a dumpster song, that ended up, launching. That was their first single. That was their first big hit. So I can listen to those two, like, anytime, any day.
So talking about SWV, they have a lot of B-side tracks, or just tracks that really weren't as popular as Weak, and the song from Above the Rim and Downtown and Human Nature, all of that stuff. What do you think about some of the little known hits? Are they hits, or is it just up to the person's discretion?
Well, I think so. It's music, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's really going to be you. It's what you like. It's kind of like, I don't know if you, no, my wife's really into wine, right? Like, she wino for real. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, not wino for real. See,
wino for
working
real.
on getting blocked. You're working on getting blocked.
Yeah, but but it's like, it depends on your taste. It depends on your taste. I think anything with Coco as the lead, I can listen to, but when Lily and Taj try to do it, I'm not such a big fan of that. You know what I'm saying? And that shows in the numbers. Like, that shows in the numbers. Coco singing, you got to hit.
Right.
The other two are doing lead. It's like, well, maybe not so much.
But
you know what I'm saying?
Do you think they had to sing lead to prove that they can sing? Because I remember, I'm a big fan of Showtime at the Apollo. I watch it every night like it's brand new. And on one of the episodes, they were there visiting in the crowd. And so Taj was talking about in their new album, which was probably like 1997, I don't know, that they all were going to sing lead on some of the songs because they had to prove that all of them can sing and not just Coco.
Well, I agree with you. And Taj actually had a hit. I think it was "It's All About You." That was the one that Coco wasn't lead, and it charted, right? That, I think, I can't think of too many more, right? But yes, but SWV also went through a point to where they realized, hey, we don't write any of our songs, right? And so why that's important is because that's how you get paid.
Yes.
And so that's when they initially parted ways with Brian Alexander Morgan, who produced their major hits, right? And so that's where that came from. Like, we have to get more involved. Otherwise, we're going to be singing on stage for the rest of our lives because we have to, not because we want to and we love the music. So I think that was more of a motivation for everyone stepping up and taking part in the production, writing, and lead vocals process than just, hey, we need to show we can sing. But there's also egos involved too when you're talking about musicians. Like, everybody in the groups always break up. Right. Because of these egos. It's money and egos. Those are the two things. And so I think that's part of it too. It's like, why she get the lead all the time, So I think you go there.
What are your thoughts on supergroups? We have like TGT, Tank, Genuine Tyrese. We had LSG. For a minute, we had RBM. Was it Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike? Like they're a part of New Edition, but then they kind of had their own little thing. Like supergroups don't seem to last very long. What are your thoughts on that?
So it's interesting you say that. I mean, I agree with you, and that part of that is ego. But I think if you look at supergroup, if you look at any group, and particularly from 90s R&B, even today's R&B, like every group wants to be New Edition. Like every single group wants to be New Edition. You look at Jodeci, not Jodeci, but Boyz II Men. You look at Jagged Edge, like they want to be New Edition. And it's interesting that you ended with that one because so New Edition, of course, they were, Candy Girl, Popcorn Love, all those hits in the 80s. And then they came to a point when even New Edition really didn't want to be a part of New Edition. Everybody went their own separate ways. But the testament to that group, they were discovered by Maurice Starr out of Boston, Massachusetts, right? The real testament to that group is the fact that every member of that group eventually left. They never called it a breakup, but they left. And then, so like you said, came back together. Every member had platinum albums, #1 hit. Every single one. And I don't recall anybody, maybe except the Beatles, doing that. And also, if you consider the fact that, okay, New Edition breaks, right? You have Bobby Brown, who had, his first album was actually 1986. It was called King of the Stage, right? The album was not platinum. It went gold, but he had the #1 hit called Girlfriend, which a lot of people forgot about because in 88, 2 years later, he followed up with Don't Be Cruel, and they had My Prerogative, Roni, smash, right? Interesting fact, though, Teddy Riley, who produced that album, got his start in a group called Kids at Work, which was fashioned after New Edition in the early 80s. But also, it was the fact that you had, who was next? You had Johnny Gill next, all right? We already talked about My, perfect song. Okay, platinum album, 2 #1 hits. Rub You the Right Way was another one. BBD comes out, they got Poison. Platinum album. It was Me. Dope. You know what I'm saying? Those tracks on there. And then Ralph Tresvant was the last out of the gate. And he comes with Sensitivity, Stone Cold Gentleman, so he's doing his thing. Another platinum album. As a matter of fact, New Edition's impact even crossed over to pop music because Maurice Starr, who founded Boston, Massachusetts, found him in the projects, Boston, Massachusetts. So he always said in multiple outlets that, hey, look, if New Edition were white, they'd be 10 times as big. So New Edition leaves him, grows up, they change from Boys to Men. Right? And so what ends up happening is Maurice Starr goes to the white neighborhood in Boston, starts a new group, New Kids on the Block. And of course, they blow up and they had at least one #1 hit, sold millions of records as well, platinum album. And they're really credited with, this boy band craze, right? A lot of people go to New Kids on the Block and say, oh, they were the progeny of the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. And no. It was New Edition. Like everybody either wanted to be New Edition, and it even crossed over into pop music, which traditionally was not our space at that time. And so, definitely. I mean, so it's a long-winded way to answer your question, right? But supergroups, I think that was a supergroup. The only way it remains a supergroup if it is recognized that it's not a supergroup. Like when they were kids, they were doing their thing, and everyone had their own talent, but it wasn't realized yet. But once they did realize that talent, poof, what I'm saying? They were going their separate ways, doing their separate things. So coming into it as adults with egos and albums of your own, I think it's difficult to maintain that.
So do you think that groups from the 80s, 90s now against the groups from the 20,000s, let's say that, do you think they would be able to stand up against the two? As far as like being able to perform and sell and go out there and put on amazing productions and all of that stuff?
Well, okay, think about it this way. I don't know many groups, and I'm going out on a limb here because I'm going off the top of my head, and I've got a couple of bottles of this rosé now. Not too many, a couple of glasses. I'm sorry. No.
I was like bottles. Okay.
But if you look, the groups, they were dancing. Look at New Edition, like they were dancing, doing it. The groups actually did those things back in those days. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they do that now. In terms of production value, you had to have talent. You had to really have talent to actually perform and do these things, right? Like I mentioned, New Edition, like each one when they left, guess what? They were still productive. You know what I'm saying? Compare that to a group like in sync. They break up. You got one guy. You got one guy that's doing something. Everybody else is not. You know what I'm saying? And so I think comparing it to then, you had to be more creative in writing as well. Okay. And I think that was a part of it. I'm pushing 50, right? You know what I'm saying? So I understand. Nobody's making music for me. You know what I'm saying? Even 50-year-olds are not. Jay-Z's not making music for me. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I understand it. I get that. So I'm not like, just some old man. You know what I'm saying? Saying, stay away from me and stuff like that. But I do understand there was an art to writing, and the writing was different, and it left a little bit to the imagination. I'm old fashioned. I like to take it slow. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was a part of it, and so it wasn't so overt. But I think from pure talent perspective, it was you had to jump through more hoops to get signed then too. I mean, now if you post a YouTube video, get 2 million hits, you got a record deal. Correct. You know what I'm saying? You got a record deal. If you look at everyone, look at Aaliyah, you look at even Destiny's Child, right? Girls Time / Destiny's Child. They had to jump through some serious hoops to get signed, to get a deal, to get a record. Usher, same thing. I mean, but now you got boom. You post a YouTube video, post an Instagram reel, whatever, you got a deal. So I think the talent is missing as well.
So let's stay in the vein of talent and writing. I don't know if you've had a chance to check out on Paramount Plus the Milli Vanilli documentary. I watched it a couple days ago, and I actually was pleasantly surprised by it. It was very good. It gave a different perspective of what happened. It gave a different perspective of the group, who they were, just how they were used, essentially. And there was no real talent involved. I mean, most of us are familiar with Milli Vanilli and their whole scandal. But after everything fell apart for them, they had nothing. So how does that, for artists, how are they able to almost like rebrand? Or do you think they should rebrand after a situation where their talent wasn't up to par as far as being able to be an artist, writing, producing, singing their own music?
Well, Milli Vanilli is interesting because Rob and Fab, they each released albums, following the breakup, like you alluded to, but it's never, they were damaged goods at that point. Like who's going to say, hey, I paid for this Rob and Fab concert? Nobody is going to do that after the scandal. And so that was part of the issue. I think in terms of walking away with something, a lot of that is going to be investing in writing, investing in yourself, and get a little lanyard up here today. I got a little something. Actually, I just have it here. I got this here. So first of all, buy my book before you buy this book. But this is Don Passman's book, right? And if you are an aspiring musician, right, spend the $16.99, get the book. It gives you all the inside information to the industry, how you actually make money. Most folks think, hey, if I'm performing like Rob and Fab, right, if I'm on stage here and flying to different cities, different countries, I'm rich. No, it doesn't work that way. You actually owe. You'll find out, like Rob and Fab did, that you owe more than anything else. Interestingly about Rob and Fab, their producer who organized or orchestrated this whole hoax, he did the same thing 10 years earlier. Like he was doing that stuff since the 70s. Yeah. Well, you saw documentary. See, I didn't see the documentary yet. This is just going from, like on the research here. But so, I mean, there was nothing new. This guy knew what he was doing, and they were really victims in this. Like they honestly were. They were victims in this whole thing. So, and, I didn't listen to the album. I didn't buy the album. If they could have sang, like somebody would have found them. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that talent. Like if you balling like that, somebody's going to find you. I don't care where you are. May have jumped through some hoops, but somebody's going to sign you. So I think that's the thing. But the main thing is, with anything, like if you have talent, there are always going to be people looking to exploit that talent. Right. And that's the main thing. And if I could, can I share a story with you real quick about that? And this is really about knowing your worth in the music industry. So Dolly Parton's a legend. Yes. Right. She's a legend, country music legend, pop music legend. She's a legend. So, but early in her career, she was being managed by Porter Wagner, a guy named Porter Wagner, who was basically taking her money, mismanaging her career, and taking advantage of her. So Dolly Parton wrote a song called "I Will Always Love You," right? Made famous by Whitney Houston 20 years after she wrote it. Dolly Parton wrote that song as a love song, this beautiful song to this guy who'd been taking advantage of her for like all of her career, taking her money. And she puts the song on her album Jolene, 1972, I believe. And that song reaches number one on the country charts. So she has a number one song in the country. Along comes a guy named Elvis Presley, right? And Elvis Presley, just picture like Michael Jackson. This is like Michael Jackson coming to you and saying, hey, I like that song. I want to record that song, right? And so Dolly Parton has a chance to get, this big superstar to record her song. And so they're both in Tennessee. So Elvis Presley and these people come to town, they come to the studio and they're ready to record. It's like, okay, Dolly, it's like Michael Jackson records your song. You're going to make some money off this song. You're going to be popular. Like, this is a big deal, right?
Right.
Elvis comes to town. But the night before, Elvis's manager calls Dolly Parton and says, well, Elvis is about to record this song. It's going to be real big. And now he doesn't record a song unless he gets 1/3 of the publishing, right? And so Dolly Parton's like, whoa, 1/3 of the publishing. He's like, well, this is already a number one hit. Like, 1/3, I don't know if I can do that. Meanwhile, all of Dolly Parton's friends are telling her, girl, you crazy. You better go ahead and take that and get that, let him record it, because this is the king. This is the king.
Right.
You got to let him record that song, right? And so Dolly Parton sticks to her gun. She says, no, this is going to set me and my family, and this is publishing. So this is more than music. This is the publishing rights. He gets to get 1/3 of that. So she doesn't. She does not relent, right? 1981, she re-releases the song, I Will Always Love You, as a part of the soundtrack of her movie, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. It was a Burt Reynolds thing. You probably don't remember. I'm old enough to remember it. You don't remember the movie. But reaches number one again on the country charts, right? Okay. So she makes money off of that, 1/3 of which would have went to Elvis, but it didn't because she stuck to her guns on that. And then, of course, 1990s come around, Whitney Houston, and that song was a last-minute addition to the movie. They actually had to add 40 seconds to the movie to accommodate placing that song in the movie. And so Whitney Houston records it, and Dolly Parton was just blown away by it. And she remarks, she's like, I made more money off of Whitney Houston's rendition of that song. I made so much money, I could have bought 10 Gracelands, which is, of course, Elvis's estate where he lived. And so that's just a part of knowing your worth, first of all, and sticking to your guns on this in the music industry. Now, Rob and Fab didn't have that leverage because they didn't write anything.
Right.
They didn't write anything.
Right.
They didn't sing anything. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of what it is. But in terms of the industry, just knowing your worth, not just in the industry, it's in life. Look, know your worth, don't compromise. You know what I'm saying? Because folks are going to, anytime you have talent, folks are going to come and try to extract whatever they can from you. You know what I'm saying? But just stick to your guns and you'll be all right.
Yes, let's put a pin in it right there and welcome all of the people that are joining us for the first time. Welcome to Touch Taste Thursday. I'm Rebecca with a K. This is season 6, episode 3. And I have with me tonight that 90s R&B vibe. I also have the author and curator as my guest, Mr. AJ. He is joining us live. We are talking about the collection of stories, and we're going to talk about the playlist in a little bit, but just the stories and all of the information that he has in this book. It is not a quick read because it's like you're going down the rabbit hole. So it's like looking up the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So make sure you hit the link and you order this book. You can get it on Amazon, but make sure you also do follow his page and you like, and you also comment on our conversation tonight. Tomorrow, you can go to YouTube to catch the full episode if you have missed the first half. All right. And our product placement for tonight is by Unforced Rhythms. I was going to say unreleased. Unforced Rhythms. I have the body scrub, which is a super rich scrub. And all of them actually have a scripture on it. And this one is called You're Enough Body Cream. And I have the You're Enough scrub. And the scripture on this one is Psalms 139:14. So make sure you go to that. I am going to have a link for all of the products after we finish our conversation tonight. And make sure you like, you comment, you share, you subscribe to YouTube. All of the information that has been shared so far. I'm intrigued to understand like how this young man knows all of this stuff. It's almost like he's like the Rain Man of R&B music because he just knows a lot. Like talking to an audio version of Unsung. If you've ever seen Unsung, this gentleman definitely should be a part of Unsung as their historian, their document team, whatever it is, because he knows a lot. So we're going to jump right back into the conversation. We left off about talent and knowing your worth. So like TV shows, you talk about Star Search in your book. There's also, American Idol, Sunday's Best, the voice, all of that stuff. Do you think people really know their worth, or are they just looking for a quick shot at stardom?
Okay, well, first of all, do you use that scrub? Because I want whatever you use, and whatever you use it, I want.
I use Pond's on my face, but yes, I do use this scrub and the lotion. I have since the summertime. I love it. It smells really good. It's not heavy. I always tell people my skin and my hair is very Caucasian, so I have to be very cautious with what I use, only because I don't know. It's just really weird. But these products are amazing. I really like it. I will get you guys some so that you and Symphony y'all can share.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So I will
Well,
send
happy
you
days. That's
guys a
good.
set so y'all can try it out and tell me what you think.
Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna put it all over her
That
face.
works too.
Notice this is G-rated. This is G-rated. I'll put it all over.
That
But yeah,
works
so
too.
we'll do it that way. That's excellent. So in terms of shows, well, I mean, that's just the society right now. Like I know folks didn't really tune in for that. My take on society, but I think that in terms of talent, it really is a strike quick type deal for most people. Like I alluded to earlier, you got these YouTube videos, YouTube celebrities, and they're trying to milk it for as long as they can, and that's just the way it is now. And so talent is kind of the afterthought in the whole thing. Certainly, there are people with talent. I mean, if you look at, you brought up Star Search, which was an old show. Compare that to America's Got Talent. You know what I'm saying? Like, or even American Idol, right? Which is just singing. That's just a singing show. And Star Search, if you look at, which did everything, but if you look at the singers that were on Star Search, like way more successful when it was harder to get into than the American Idol shows now. I mean, you got losers on Star Search. You got Usher Raymond, loser. You know what I'm saying? Destiny's Child,
Right,
loser.
right.
Justin Timberlake, loser. Aaliyah,
Mm-hmm.
loser. You know what I'm saying? But they go on to mega stardom. While some of the winners, like Ruben Studd, I mean, Ruben Studd is all right. You know what I'm saying? But he's no Usher.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so you got stuff like that. And so that sort of, to me, that really illustrates, where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's more talent second. Got to have the aesthetic first now versus before it was really, can she sing? Can he sing? Can he do this?
Right. So you mentioned Ruben Studdard in the whole American Idol. I always felt like they never allow Ruben to shine alone as the winner. It's always been Ruben and Clay. Even
Okay.
now, 20 some years later, they still package them as Ruben and Clay. And I felt like that was unfair to Ruben because he won outright, but he's been grouped with this other guy, and now he's doing cover songs, and none of his albums really seem to chart the way that I guess we anticipated they would have because of the songs and the votes and all the things that went into American Idol. What are your thoughts about competition shows like that, and how they treat the Black and brown artists that actually win?
Well, so I don't watch the shows when they first started. I watched, and admittedly, I watched for the bad performances.
Okay.
I didn't really watch for the too much good. I mean, I love Fantasia. There was a girl on one of the shows, or a woman on one of the shows. Her name was Frenchie, and I don't know if you remember Frenchie, but she was awesome. I was like, oh my God, this girl can sing, but she got disqualified. Speaking of Frenchie, so this is my product placement. This is Frenchie. That's an OG. That's a local brand out of the DC area, Prince George's County, Maryland. So I told him I wear a shirt, and so I brought it out. But no, Frenchie was awesome. But that was again in the earlier seasons. In terms of the treatment of Black and brown contestants, you got to understand. So this is my honest opinion. Like I never thought you would have a Black or brown winner. Like when it first came on, the first winner was Kelly Clarkson, right? And that was, I never thought, because I'm like, well, if it's America, you know what I'm saying? Like, look at, it's America. So they're not really, if you look where Black and brown people excel, it's in our cultural music. Like that's where we number ones are going to be. So I was surprised when Ruben won it. So it was not surprising with the pairing with Clay because, you're trying to make money basically on the show. And how do you make money is you build that drama, and you have to have these two. And then collectively they've been tied together since then. I mean, Clay, even when he ran for Senate or the House of Representatives a couple of years ago, you know what I'm saying? And so he was facing questions about Ruben Sutter, in the concert. So I think they're linked together. It's all marketing. It's all marketing. You got to sort of have that Larry Bird, Magic Johnson thing, right? You got to sort of have that thing going. And there's a racial element to it, of course. But that's what moves the meter. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so it's a business. It's a business.
So what do you think about a lot of the artists such as the Justin Timberlake, the Justin Bieber's, they kind of ride that wave of the culture. They ride that wave of building their audiences and building basically their influence off of Black and brown culture. And when it all falls apart, no longer I'm a part of the culture. Like they don't have that same level of engagement and swag and, hang time that they had. How do you think that affects the music as we go forward in the future?
Well, so in terms of affecting the music, I think it actually helps. I mean, I think think about Vanilla Ice, right? Think about Vanilla Ice. Like rap was vilified. You had presidential candidates going against rap. You had Luther Campbell going to the Supreme Court. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Over free speech. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, you had other artists biting off the heads of bats and talking about killing your parents, and nobody cares about that. But Luther's talking
Right.
about some other stuff, and all of a sudden it's indecent. So I don't think so. But if you look at Vanilla Ice when he came along, like he took rap to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I mean, if you think about it, like he took rap just out of the culture and expanded it. Now, he sold millions of records, right? But to quote Tupac, right? Crackheads buy millions of rocks. That don't mean crack is good.
Right. Right.
So, but he is diluting it a bit. I understand that, but we would not be in the space we are, and we would not have these artists having these opportunities that they have without that, without a Vanilla Ice, right? Without a Justin Timberlake. He's bringing it and he's packaging it in a way that is non-threatening to the majority of the audience,
right.
And opening doors. So in that way, I think it's a good thing. If you could say it's appropriation, you could say it's what have you, but you got Black folks buying it too.
Mm-hmm.
You got Jay-Z partnering with Justin Timberlake on songs. You got all these other artists. So, I mean, it's acceptable in that way. And ultimately, I'll be honest with you, in terms of R&B, if we're talking about love, like John B, right?
Right.
John B, you know what I'm saying? We talking about love, it's all good. That blue-eyed soul, what do you call it? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I love it.
Do you think the blue-eyed soul, that neo soul phase, has it phased out?
So here's the problem with neo soul. Neo soul started to die when Kedar Massenburg copyrighted the name, right? So neo soul was this sort of independent, thing that we had. And I want to give a shout out to another DC native, Michelle Ndegeocello.
Yeah.
Shout out to her. So for those of you that don't know, so she's the queen of neo soul, right? She was doing neo soul before it had a name. Mm-hmm. And she went to the same high school my brother went to here in DC, Duke Ellington School of Performing Arts. And so is a classically trained musician. She's a bass player, like awesome, right? She's still doing her thing.
Yes.
But I don't think it's gone away. I think it's more so evolved. And I think part of it is just this stream against consciousness in Black music. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my honest opinion. I think that, when we talk positivity, it doesn't get the airplay as, some of this other stuff that's out there.
Right.
And so that's part of the issue there. And that was part of the problem with neo soul, is that it started getting infiltrated by the industry. The industry, okay. Hey, we make money with chaos. So let's go with the chaos instead of doing that. But still, I mean, Common's still a force. I saw him last year perform with the Houston Symphony Orchestra. Great show. They're still crossing those barriers. Michelle Ndegeocello had a new album last year. Like, she's doing her thing. Like, it's still there. It's still vibrant. It's just not getting the airplay or the publicity that it was when it was a brand new thing. Maxwell is still very much out there doing his thing.
Absolutely. Do you think 90s R&B vibe, do you think it would ever circle back, like come back to us as like the main genre, the main, I guess, source of just our live stories? Or do you think that's it? The 90s is gone?
No, of course not. No. So here's the thing. Like, if you listen to the radio now, so the 90s started over 30 years ago, right? 1990 was more than 30 years ago. You listen to your favorite R&B station right now, at least 30% of the songs are going to be from the 90s. That's just the way it is. And part of it is because it's so relatable. Like I said, first kiss, first love, first heartbreak, all this stuff. Like, Donald Jones had a song called Where I Want to Be, right? Every guy I've talked to, they recognize, like, oh my God, I felt this way. And the song is about a relationship, the guy's in a relationship and he doesn't know, should he stay, should he go? Like, is this it? And every woman that I know has dated a scrub, like every single woman. And of course, that's a reference to the TLC song. Like every woman has dated a scrub. And that's something that whether you're 8 or 80, not 8, but 18 or 80, you've dated a scrub. Like, that. And every scrub has had to call Tyrone. You know what I'm saying? Like, reference to the Erykah Badu song. Look, I done called Tyrone a couple times. I've been put out, hey, it's all good. I done been a Tyrone too. I ain't been a scrub, but I've been Tyrone. I called Tyrone. And hey, but it's something we can relate to. So I don't think it's too far gone yet. I think that era, what separates it is not just the relatability, but it's about love.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's about love. When they go to the 70s, you hear Teddy Pendergrass singing a song, like it's about love, whether the good, the bad side, all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's about love. So I think love never goes out of style. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's always room to come back and circle around and be like, yeah, I love you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a beautiful thing. So that's something we can't forget about and something we can't let go, no matter what the media, the radio, the labels, want to tell us. Like, nah, it's love. It's here to stay.
Which song do you think had the biggest impact on R&B music ever?
Okay, I'm going to surprise ever. Like, so we're going past the 90s. We're going
biggest, ever? The biggest. I mean, 90s, of course, that was 90 to 99. But here in 2023, which R&B song from the 90s has had the biggest impact?
Okay, so the song with the biggest impact, and I'm going to shock you on this one, it's actually a Destiny's Child song. It's
okay.
I hear the doubt in your voice.
I'm ready. I'm trying to set it up. Like, wait a minute. Okay.
You're like, oh, he had 2 months of drink. Now you're talking about Destiny's Child, the biggest impact. Okay, I get it. But no, so bear with me for a second. Like, so Destiny's Child, in terms of impact, right? They had a song called No, 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 Part 2, right? Which offered their first album. So No, 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 Part 1 was a slow jam. It was a slow jam. Decent. This was Destiny's Child's first album.
Right.
So again, we go from Star Search Loser, Destiny's Child.
Yeah.
They rebrand themselves. Matthew Knowles takes over management. They get signed to Elektra, but they get dropped because Elektra has En Vogue. I don't need 2 of you. So then they get signed with Columbia. So now they're on Columbia, and they had their first album, and the album's okay. It's an okay album with No, 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 Part 1. However, Wyclef Jean of the Fugees comes in, produces No, 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 Part 2. And so, I should have told you before, get your Spotify, get your Amazon, whatever you got. Check these songs out. If you jot them down, check them out. But if you play Part 1 to Part 2, it's 2 completely different songs. Here's where I say it made the biggest impact.
Okay.
And actually, I'll take a step back with that one. So on Star Search, Destiny's Child lost, right? They lost because Beyonce was rapping. Matthew Knowles said this. He said, yeah, we lost because we didn't sing. Beyonce came out there and we were rapping. We chose to do a rap song, and so we lost, right? Interestingly enough, No, 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 Part 2, the upbeat version of the song, it's my contention, that Beyonce was rapping on this song. And if you think, I'm not going to sing it. I don't know your licensing situation.
I got you.
You got to pay. But everyone at home can check this out. And I'd be interested in the comments, like if you agree with me or not. But this is really a rap song. Like, they have harmonizing for sure, but this is really a rap song. So why do I say it impacted R&B more than any other song of the 90s? Because that song was the standout hit on that album, that first album. When they followed up with their second album, The Writing's on the Wall, that album, if you look at their biggest hit, they had Bugaboo, they had Bills. Bills was their biggest hit on that album. They're using that same formula. Beyonce's rapping on both. It's called double time syncopation. Fancy word for rapping. Like, that's all it is. She's rapping. That proved, that album sold 6 million copies, 6 to 8 million copies, right? That proved, hey, this is something that works. So that album came out in 98, 99 time frame, maybe. What you're looking at then is, you see Nelly pop up, Country Grammar, like he's rap singing. You know what I'm saying? Like he's rapping, but he's not the Jay-Z rapping. He's not the, you know what I'm saying? He's not this other rapping from the earlier 90s. Like, he's into something new, to where he's rap/singing. Then fast forward, you got Drake coming in. He's doing the same thing. He's rapping/singing. He's rapping on some song, singing on something, like, that's it. And so that showed, that song, No, 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 Part 2, showed that this was profitable. This was a profitable means to do it, as proven by Destiny Child's second album, 6 million copies, Nelly's Country Grammar, platinum. Drake's albums is built a career off of this formula, which is basically, I'm gonna sing and rap at the same time. What you gonna do about it? And also, so there's someone on Instagram called Lovely Misha. I love her. I love her, and she does the same thing, but she's a female that does it. And you know, I have no ties to her whatsoever, other than just seeing her perform on Instagram. And you're like, damn, this is legit. And so check her out as well. Like she's doing her thing. She's singing. She's rapping. Like she's doing her thing. She went on and went some hard stuff, like carrying a gun and stuff. I'm like, no, that ain't you. Why are you doing that? But check her out anyway. She's legit. She's legit.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about the curated playlist that goes with the book. And like I said, when we first opened, it's over 3 hours of just straight 90s jams. Literally over 3 hours, because I looked. How did you take the time to match each song with each story that you've included in the book?
Well, the main thing behind the book was the stories behind the song. So it's actually, instead of matching the stories to the songs, it was matching the songs to the stories. Okay. I don't know if that makes sense. But so basically what I did was I looked at songs and looked at the stories behind the creation. And so you notice a lot of songs like aren't in there. Like a lot of popular songs, it wasn't necessarily #1 hits. It wasn't necessarily, you know, most airplay hits. It was mainly, okay, what's the story behind these songs? And I did that because I love this stuff. Like I love the stories behind the songs, and because you listen to the songs in a different way. Can I share something with you? This is my second story. Sure. Can I share something with you here? So, so for example, Faith Evans in her debut album, Faith, 1995, she remade a Rose Royce song. Rose Royce released the song in 1978, and it was called Love Don't Live Here Anymore. Right? A lot of folks, whether you're familiar with it or not, you know, Rose Royce came out in 78. Faith Evans re-released it. That song did not chart, okay? The Faith Evans did not chart. The Rose Royce version from 78 went to #5. So it was already a popular hit. So when Faith did her album, a lot of where she was coming from was she was in a relationship with Notorious Big. Like they were in a thing. Like, as soon as I get home, that was a story about her relationship with Big. She's like, Big is always on the road. I just want him to say this to me. You know what I'm saying? So Faith Evans writes the song, does not chart. Even though she has Puff Daddy producing it, she has Stevie J on the track, she got Mary J. Blige singing backing vocals, but doesn't chart. Okay, fine. But I'm going to give this to you. I want you all to listen to this song. You'll catch new meaning for it. It's kind of a sad story, but you know, you'll catch new meaning to it. The original writer of the song, Miles Gregory, a member of Rose Royce, right? And the Rose Royce had a few hits like Car Wash, that was the big one. Everybody knows Car Wash. Don't Ask My Neighbor, Wishing on a Star. Like this is some good stuff. Like your parents listen to this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And old guys like me listen to this stuff today. But Miles Gregory was a member of the band Rose Royce, right? And so they had #1 hits, but they were all teenagers when this happened. They worked for a producer called Norman Whitfield, a great producer, like sought after, like awesome producer, record label executive, like he's the guy. But they were kids. And Norman Whitfield really worked them. Like he's like, no, we're going to do this. And he was a taskmaster. Like that was what they did. So Norman Whitfield typically or routinely would keep them overnight in the studio. And so anyone who's ever dated a musician or a rapper, the main excuse you're going to get is that
I'm in the studio.
I'm in the studio, right? I'm in the studio, right? That's the main excuse you're going to get. So Miles Gregory was married, right? And so his wife is like, well, look, I didn't marry you for this. Like, if you stay in the studio one more time, next time you come back, I ain't going to be here, right? This is what she told him. Well, you know, Miles Gregory ignored her or whatever. So he goes to the studio and Norman Whitfield has him staying all night. So he comes home the next night or the next day. And his wife's gone. His furniture's gone. She left him some hangers, a couple of hangers, and a guitar because he is a musician. And she wrote in the mirror in the bathroom in lipstick, "Love Don't Live Here Anymore." And so he sat down and wrote that song right there. He said he sat down and wrote that song right there. So when you listen to this song, whether it's the original version or the Mary J. Blige version, you're gonna feel this song, like because this song was meant to be felt. You know what I'm saying? It's unfortunate, it's a sad song, but So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted you to feel the song, feel these songs, where they're coming from, right? Give new meaning to it, because you've likely heard them before.
Yes.
But once you know the story behind them, you're going to hear it in a brand new way.
So you talk about the wording and feeling the song, and we can't really talk about wording and feeling the song without the super producers, Babyface, and the Jimmy Jams, the Terry Lewis, the L.A. Reeds. Like, they seem to have written from a space that was almost as though like they knew exactly what you were going through at that time. And it doesn't feel that a lot of the music that's written now has that same feel. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's just a change in production. Like, now it's more like an assembly line. I think if you look at, first of all, Babyface is a genius. That's no way around it. You know what I'm saying? But if you think about songs, it's like comedians, it's like anything that comes from just your experience. You know what I'm saying? If you've never been through anything and you're on stage telling jokes, it's like, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing there. There's nothing I can relate to as a grown man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
However, Babyface, you go through relationships, right? You go through things like that, and it sort of changes. So there are some good writers out there. I think I look at like Into the Road as an example. Like that song, massive hit, Boys to Men. Babyface wrote that. He was going through a divorce. Like, it's the end of the road. Like, this is it. You know what I'm saying? And so when you hear that song, you feel it. It's like, oh damn, yeah, that's how it is. That's how I feel. The end of the road, baby. She out the door. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's that type of thing. I think now it's more of a production. It's more about the quick hit. And again, it goes back to the talent discussion. It's like, talent really is an afterthought. And I think that's seeped into the writing aspect and the production aspect of it as well, unfortunately. But I think that's where it is.
You talk about a bit on one-hit wonders. And some of our favorite one-hit wonders had like uber success, but they only had that one hit. So, like, who would be your favorite one-hit wonder, and what is their story?
All right, so let me see. You put me on the spot here, trying to get my favorite. See, anytime you ask my favorite with stuff, it's kind of like, my favorite is like, what's my favorite kid?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like,
Okay.
I don't know what my favorite kid is. So, but in terms of one hit wonder, so I'll give you one. They're not in the one hit wonder section. Okay. But they are from the 90s. They had one hit. They didn't qualify. So I outlined certain rules for the one hit wonder section.
Okay.
These guys didn't qualify because to be a one hit wonder under my categories, you had to have one hit, top 20, and then not follow it up. This group didn't even make the top 20.
Ooh.
But in honor of you, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you. In honor of you and your Baton Rouge connection, I'm going to go with a Master P led group. They were part of No Limit. They're Sons of Funk. So Sons of Funk out of Richmond, California. So they met P at a barbershop, right? The lead singer of the group and the writer of the song Pushing Inside of You, which leaves nothing to the imagination, right? My wife doesn't like that song. She doesn't like the title. She's like, no, I can't get past the title. It ain't for me. You know what I'm saying? But Pushing Inside of You was the track. And I think it peaked at number 98. Like, it was not a hit at all. Like, and if you're outside of Baton Rouge or Richmond, California, you probably never heard the song. So check it out on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, whatever you use. Check it out. I love it. I think it's a great song. I always have. But so Master P, of course, from New Orleans, moved to Richmond, opened a record store, and he was trying to get his record label off the ground. Hears that these guys sing, meets him in a barbershop, and they make a deal. It's like Master P says, look, we're making this deal. If you make it, I'll put you on. If I make it, I'll put you on. So that was the deal. And Master P blew up, right? Master P's like, he signs a deal, gets No Limit. Like, he's a multi-millionaire at that point. And so these guys leave Richmond, California, which is in the Bay Area, Northern California, drive to LA, 5-hour drive. And they go to Priority Records, which is where Master P was. They wait for Master P in the lobby, meet Master P. And Master P remembered. Right. And Master P owned up to his deal. And he was like, yes, this is going to be it. I'm going to sign. He listened to Pushing Inside of You for 20 seconds and signed him to a deal right then and there. And again, that song peaked at number 98. You know what I'm saying? But I love this song. I think, let me ask you, have you heard the song, first of all?
Absolutely.
Roots Connection, right? So like, right.
I heard the song.
So it's surprising to me that most people didn't. Like I ran into a friend of mine from Alabama. He was like, yeah, he knew the song exactly. And that's why it's in the book. Because he actually was like, yeah, Sons of Funk, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So but that was it. But they also, I mean, they did a lot of production work. They were on, of course, I got the hookup. Like they were on that. They were singing background on that. But in terms of one hit wonders, it technically, by my criteria, didn't qualify as a hit. But I mean, that's a dope song. Like to this day, I can play that. Matter of fact, as soon as we hang up, I'm gonna play that song. My mama gonna be mad. My mama gonna be mad. I'm probably catch a whipping, but it's all good. It's all good. I'm gonna play that song. Like in terms of one hit wonders, like that's up there.
Who would you say is the most overrated artist of the 90s?
You trying to get me in trouble? I ain't gonna never get an interview again. You trying to get me in trouble?
It's all alleged in the facts and opinions, you know.
Okay, well, allegedly, I never really got Missy Elliott. Like,
as an artist or as a producer?
No, as an artist. As a producer, I think she's dope. Her and Timbaland, are dope together. They're dope separately. As a songwriter, I mean, she's a songwriting Hall of Famer. Like, I'm a nobody. So somebody know what they're doing, and it's Missy. She knows what she's doing. Like, I don't know anything. But in terms of art, I just didn't get the super duper fly. I just didn't catch that. I'm like, it's really not for me, and it never was, and it never probably will be. So as an artist, and we're talking strictly artists, then I would have to say Missy. I just never really got into her stuff. But from a production standpoint, it was awesome. Like nobody else puts crickets, in a track or a baby in the track. Like nobody does that. Did that before them, did that after them. Like that's freaking awesome. But at the same time, as an artist, I'm just like, it left a little to be desired for me.
Gotcha. Who would you say is the most underrated artist of the 90s?
Underrated? I would go Michelle Indegeacello. Like honestly, like again, it's my bias is showing, but man, I love her music. And as a matter of fact, so there are. You probably, I don't know. I can't spell the last name, so I'm not even going to try, right? But like, I think she is that dope. I think she didn't get the shine because she's bald, she's a woman, right? She's singing, she's a female bass player at that with a deep voice, and she's really like, in terms of a writer, and she's really just reciting poetry over her beats. But I encourage you. So we got Lovely Misha on Instagram. You can find her, Michelle Indegeacello. So I'll give you two songs. If you put her into any playlist, it's going to show If That's Your Boyfriend. He Wasn't Last Night.
That's right.
No, that's not. Don't listen to that song. Like, so the song is okay, but that's just the pop. That's the clean. That's the shiny version of Michelle Indegeacello. She gets into some deep stuff, and you can look at some of the titles of her songs and see that. But I think if you want to check it out, these are two songs that will make you a fan. If they don't make you a fan, she's not for you. One. Outside Your Door, which is an awesome song I love, which is available on all the major platforms. If you listen to the first 20 seconds of that song, you're going to recognize it. And you're going to recognize it because Brian McKnight borrowed, got to watch my words here, borrowed that same riff and used it in his song Anytime, which of course was a smash. So you're going to recognize that. But that Michelle did it in 93. McKnight did it in 97. But he says, no, it's just coincidence. Never. So, take it for what you will.
Okay.
So that's the first one. And then Soul Searching is another one. Searchin, Searchin, is another one. So that's not going to be available on your platforms. You got to YouTube it. But again, awesome song. Like you listen to the beat on that one, awesome song. And it's her, and you'll recognize she has a deep voice, and she's really just speaking it. But she writes all her stuff. You know what I'm saying? She's just awesome. I love her. In terms of being underrated, she is. And can I give you one more? We're running up on time here. One more. So underrated. It's going to surprise you. Tony. I think they're underrated.
Okay.
Because if we're talking 90s R&B, right? We're talking 90s R&B. Two main groups come to mind. Boyz II Men, Jodeci. Everybody talks Boyz II Men, Jodeci. Those are the two all the time. You leave out Tony, right? And here's the thing. Tony has just as many number one hits as Boyz II Men and Jodeci. They each have the same amount. The number escapes me. Maybe it's the wine, but the number escapes me right now. But they each have the same amount of number one hits. Number one. Number two, Tony has more top 10 hits than Jodeci and Boyz II Men. Now, they deserve to be right up there. The only caveat is Tony released their first album in 1998. Right? So that's 2 years before the 90s, right? But if we account for that, they surpass, in terms of chart performance, they surpass Boyz II Men and Jodeci. In terms of sales, no. No, they just don't. It just doesn't compare, right? But in terms of people buying, liking their songs, it is, and that does not include Raphael Sadiq's songs, right? Like "Ask of You"
as a solo artist.
Exactly. The songs he wrote, "Kissing You" for Total, like that doesn't include that stuff. So it's just, if we're going straight chart performance and people loving their music, then you got to put them right up there. But they get overlooked. Like nobody mentions them as one of the great groups of the 90s, which just escapes me.
In the book, you talk about, you share a story about Boyz II Men and Jodeci, and how pretty much because of their image, they had completely different lives outside of them being in a group because of the packaging. And so you allude to, Jodeci being raised in the church, having that gospel background, but they were dressed like the bad boys,
Right.
And then you have Boyz II Men, who was just a group of guys that just was living life that can sing, but they're dressed very preppy, very, I can bring you to meet my parents, but I'm really going to hang out with Jodeci type guys. How does that play as far as like creating a rivalry, or is there a rivalry? Was there a rivalry between the two groups?
So in reviewing interviews with both groups, right, the rivalry was fan made. There wasn't, like, they love each other. Like Nathan Morris said, no, we love those guys. We love those guys, and we were jealous of them because we couldn't. We wanted to be regular old ninjas. I said ninjas. We wanted to be regular old ninjas like they were, but we couldn't because we had those images. The reason why they had that image was because Michael Bivins, of course, New Edition. New Edition had that sort of image. They still to this day, like, they would come out in suits and they're doing their thing, right? And so Michael Bivins, of course, discovered Boyz II Men. And so that's why they had that image, and they had that pop appeal, which directly translated into sales. I mean, in terms of sales, they lap Jodeci, us, and they lap Boyz, and they lap 20, right? So I mean, it worked because they were less offensive, right? But Jodeci were the bad boys, so they suffered a bit in sales. But everybody loves Jodeci. Like everybody loves Jodeci to this day. And Boyz II Men, most people are like, yeah. But Jodeci, there is no other way about it. It's like, no, we mess with Jodeci, man. That's our group. And so even to this day, and so I think that was part of it. And Boyz II Men they were actually envious of that. They wanted that for themselves. And if you think about it, like, you're exactly right. Like, Casey and JoJo charted as gospel artists, like in 1985. Like, they were on the gospel charts as little Cedric Haley. You know what I'm saying? Like that was they were part of their father's band. And so, and then you have Boyz II Men, who are from Philadelphia, like gritty, cold, dirty Philadelphia, right? And then when they make it big, they form these two completely different entities. Like the gospel group goes straight bad boy, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the bad boys, if you put it that way, go straight preppy, wearing suits and baseball caps and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely. So
before we close out, obviously, and maybe, I don't know if it's obvious the most, but arguably, this thing from the conversation, from the book, from the playlist, and we talk about the 90s R&B, we got to talk about R. Kelly.
Oh, goodness.
Kells didn't get any love in this book.
He was going to drop that on me like that? You know what I'm saying? Well, that
part of the 90s.
He is, and that's the big question. And you know what I'm saying, to quote the Ghetto Boys, if it's going down, let's get it over with. You just got to go with it and go with it. So I did not mention R. Kelly because he's so polarized. And I mean, that takes over the conversation. And like, if you put anything in his book, then it becomes about R. Kelly. It's like, oh, well, he's signing off on R. Kelly's deeds and he's promoting, you know what I'm saying? And, you couldn't really do that. First of all, you can't write this book. Like, there are, like, Aaliyah's in the book, you know what I'm saying? Yes. Change of Faces is not in the book, but Aaliyah's in the book, and we'll led to that. And so a lot of the songs that R. Kelly has written are in the book. Just songs where he was lead, even R. Kelly, even back when he was with Public Announcement, did not include, just because the polarizing nature of it. And then people forget the other side of your work. And I'm happy to say, you know what I'm saying, like, we got thousands of copies sold, best-selling. I think I made the right call on that one, you know what I'm saying, excluding kills from this whole thing. It worked out. But, you know, that's the main thing. It's just so polarized. It's just even, you know, and you know, they don't play him on the radio. But like me, you can't get around songs that he's written. I mean, Bump, Bump, Bump by B2K, like, that's an R. Kelly song. Like, you just can't. If that came out in 2000, but even like the 90s, you cannot get around that.
But what about the artists that he's written for that people don't even think about when when he comes up in conversation? The Tony Braxtons, the Isley Brothers, the Celine Dion's, you know, and so many others. Like it's like that. I heard a quote that said that if we got rid of all of R. Kelly's music, we would not have any music. So how do we separate the artist from the person, but not include his music in the conversation in totality?
Well, I think so. Because I'm part of media now, I guess, and
you
as well.
As in the media,
right? Right. But I think we've successfully done that, right? I think if R. Kelly's voice, if we don't hear him, it's okay. If he wrote it and his estate his estate doesn't make any money now, so all the money goes to the victim. So we're actually doing a good thing.
Correct.
It's actually a good thing, right? If we're playing stuff that he wrote, then that's actually a good thing because it's going to the victims because of the lawsuits. But at the same time, you know, if we don't hear his voice, it's sort of like putting it over, saying, okay, we're done with that chapter. We can move on. Because, like, I mean, the guy is just all over it. Like, in terms of the 90s, I mean, Summer 93, woo.
Summer 93.
I mean, I look like nothing now, but in 93, man, I was, you know, G'd up. I was hot back in 93. And I was bumping R. Kelly, right? But, you know, that's not acceptable now. I understand that. I understand why. Believe me, I got daughters. Like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand why, and I agree with why. But I think the happy place is, as long as we can't hear him on the record, that's fine.
Okay, I will agree with that. And so what is one key message or takeaway that you want the readers to have experiencing the sounds and reading the book and all of that with the create the vibe for us?
All right, so this is going to sound cliche, but I think the main takeaway is just remember love, man. You got to remember love. Like, again, I'm not some old guy who's just mad at everybody for not thinking the way I think. But, you know, I like taking it slow. I like love songs. You know, I like songs about even the heartbreak songs. Like, I feel you. Like, one of my big records was Anytime, Brian McKnight. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna share something with you because we family. I'm gonna share something with you. So I sent that to my wife. Sent it to my wife. Almost 20 years ago. I sent it to my wife.
Okay.
It was a single CD with that song on it. And, you know, she brings that up to this day. You know what I'm saying? Hey, do I ever cross your mind? You know what I'm saying? That's all I wanted to know. And if she would have said no, that would have broke my heart. It would have broke my heart. But she didn't, obviously. So it worked out. But, you know, it's look, you know, a lot of these songs now are kind of fast. They kind of put everything forward. You know what I'm saying? But hey, just got to remember love, man. It's all about that love.
Yes. And so let's go to the comments. We have so many comments. I don't know how I've missed them, and I'm sorry about that. The comment says, can't wait to read the book. I love the 90s R&B music scene. We have more comments that pretty much are saying like the greatest era of R&B was 90s, hands down. In the Black and brown community, talent has always been the barometer by which 90s is measured. And then our last comment is about our last conversation about Mr. Kelly, who says that he's a horrible person, but his impact on the culture cannot be denied. And just a little background for those that don't know the connection. So Mr. AJ's wife, Symphony, was one of my suite mates at Southern back in the day. So shout out to Symphony. Thank you for making this connection for us. And so any final thoughts before we close out?
I do got one. So am I not blocked? Like, how does that work?
No, you're not blocked. I mean, no. Block, that's for a whole different of people. Like you don't fall under the block category.
All right. I'm good with that then. I'm good with that.
You're good. But yes, make sure you guys go and order the book and you download the playlist that goes with the book, or the book goes with the playlist. Either way it goes, make sure you get both because I thoroughly enjoyed it. It is definitely a great read. And if you are a fun facts person like me, it is filled with fun facts of our favorite songs from the 90s. I thought it was amazing and I was very intrigued. That's why I reached out because I needed to understand what the whole 90s R&B vibe was about. And then that playlist really set it off. So I was like, okay, now it's my time to reach out. So thank you for curating this playlist. Thank you for being the author of this book because it is an amazing book. So shout out to you. Kudos on a great job for that.
Thank you.
Yes. So again, before we close out tonight, our product placement, hopefully you guys can see this. It is by Unforced Rhythms. Unforced Rhythms You're Enough body cream. I have the You're Enough body scrub, and I have the Super Rich scrub, all by Unforced Rhythms. I'm going to make sure I put all of the links on all of our social media pages, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And as always, I don't have any real announcements other than the next episode of Touch Taste Thursday will be November 30th. And our motto, as it's been for all 6 seasons, what's for me is for me, what ain't is for another saint. So you make sure you guys copy, you like, you share, you subscribe, you do all of those things that you do so you can stay connected to all of my content. And make sure you tune in every Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern to me on the Jamal Bates Morning Show, where we bring inspiration, motivation, laughter, encouragement, all of that stuff. So I'm Rebecca with a K. It has been Touch Taste Thursday. You guys have a great night, and I will see you on the 30th. Bye.